Well, hello, everybody. Hello. This is Pastor Sherry. This is Coach Sherry on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, really. I just needed to come. This has just kind of like been stirring up in me. And I think that I want to say this, and I'm praying that my saying this will help somebody who is dealing with perhaps death, anticipatory grief, whether or not to put a person on hospice. And so I tagged this Grandma Holla, Hospice, and Healing. Grandma Holla, Hospice, and Healing. So by now you have heard of Grandma Holla, the grandmother out of East St. Louis, Illinois, East St. Louis, who died, the 97-year-old grandmother who kept us laughing on Facebook. She died January the 14th at the age of 97 years old. And so because of the work that I do as a who worked as a hospice chaplain. I also I am a chaplain in the VA system, but I also in the VA system. Hey, Lori, so glad to see you, Miss Influencer. Would you share this? I want to talk about Grandma Holla, Hospice, and Healing. And so my primary focus is hospice and palliative care. And I just kind of want to talk to you about some things that I have noticed and that may help you on your journey. Welcome to everybody who is coming in. This is Pastor Sherry, Coach Sherry. As you can see, it's a lazy Saturday here in New Orleans. I have my flannels on. Yes, I do. But I needed to come to say this. So again, by now you have seen somewhere on your social media feed the Grandma Holla, the 97-year-old woman who died January the 14th. And she was on all the social media feeds, whatever you may have thought about her, at some point, you stopped in to listen to her and her family, her granddaughter who took care of her, and all of those. I have seen in homes the burden of caring for another. Caregiving is not for the faint of heart. I saw my mom take care of my grandparents, and I know the toll that it took on her. And so, hello, Renee. Would you please go ahead and share this with your circle, your clique, or your crew? I saw the toll. And so when we looked at Grandma Holla, all we saw was what was in front of the camera, right? We did not see what was happening when the hospice nurse came. We didn't see when the aides came. We didn't see all of those things. What we saw was what was in front of us, and she kept us laughing until she could not anymore. But this is what I want to talk about. Oftentimes, and I just vaguely, and I remember so strongly when they put Grandma Holla on hospice, when they shared with us that she was on hospice, there were some key things that helped me to understand that things was going to be real difficult for this family. And I'm not listen, my heart goes out to them. I know what it means to your grandmother, the one who you were with all the time, when that person is no longer there. So I honor this family. But what I'm talking about tonight, I want to share with you, just in case you are ever faced with this. There were some key things to help me to understand that things were going to be difficult for this family. Usually, let me back up. Usually, when a hospice is recommended, let me just say this: that is a scary word for people. Hearing that you have been placed on hospice, or the doctor is recommending hospice care, people automatically throw up this red flag, say, I'm not going to do this. This person is not dying. She's not dying. He's not dying. I'm not going to do this. We're not going to get hospice. As if hospice is the being on hospice, or the idea of being on hospice is what's going to kill you or hasten your death. I'm here to say that many people, in fact, it's particularly black people and particularly Christian black folk, miss out on all of the benefits of having hospice. There are so many. It's not just about dying. I always tell my patients and I tell my people, it's not about dying. It is about us helping you to live the best you can with what's going on in your body. And so hospice comes into play when you have a diagnosis that says, if the signs of your diagnosis, if it's COPD, if it's congestive heart failure, if it's cancer, even if it's Alzheimer's. I had a patient whose diagnosis was depression. Whatever your diagnosis is, the science says you have come to the part of your illness that it is not going to get better, but it is going to digress and decline. And that this is going to take place in 6 months or less if the science of it does what it needs to do. So, or it's going to do. So just because they say hospice does not cause you to die. Hospice allows you to have the best quality of life that you can, given the diagnosis that you have. Thank y'all for coming in. I'm just talking this thing out. I'm calling this Grandma Holla Hospice and Healing. And so the reason why Grandma Holla is the person that we have in our view right now. It's the person that we can most identify with. But I want to help us. When they said that Grandma Holla was going to be on hospice, there were some things that allowed me to know, having the experience that I have, that things were going to be difficult for this family. The first thing is they said, we don't want a chaplain. They said, we don't want a chaplain because Holla is not dying. We don't, and I cringe because oftentimes I have gone places, even working in the hospital, when they see me and I come in and I say, good morning, I'm Chaplain Sherry. And I have literally had people say, Chaplain, what are you doing in here? Am I dying? Are they not telling me something? Because they automatically equate chaplain with death. And so I have to explain to them, no, I'm not here for that. In the regular hospital for the inpatient, they could have a cold or whatever. And it's like when they hear the word chaplain. And so when Grandma Holla's family, when they first got on hospice, they denied the chaplain because they equated chaplain coming as with immediate death. And so the chaplain could have helped them navigate this difficult journey in their lives. A chaplain is trained, has the experience, and has the skills and the education to come through and walk with you through this journey. Sometimes it is just sitting and helping you to talk about some things that you really need to talk about. Sometimes there are things that the person who is the patient, sometimes they need to clear their conscience. Sometimes they want to ask somebody for forgiveness. Sometimes they want to know if they will get into heaven, or depending on whatever their religious tradition is, they want to know if they are worthy enough. And so we walk through those things. It's not about just praying. Many times when I go into a hospital room, it is not about praying. Some people, they don't want prayer. I'm okay with that. It's just sitting. We call it a ministry of presence. And so they denied the chaplain to come. And they said, no, Holla is not dying. So therefore, we don't need it. What they think. And of course, Grandma Holla had some choice words. And so they did not receive that care that they could have. And again, this is not a ding against them, because there are many. I vividly remember there was a case that hurt me to my core that the family refused. Number one, they did not want hospice, but because of the benefits and all of the equipment that you get and all of the supplies, and especially if your loved one needs Ensure or Boost, that is expensive in the store. Or if they need pads for their beds or even diapers. So people come, sometimes when they do, they're just coming for the supplies, and they are never considering that to even be eligible for hospice care, that you must have a diagnosis that says that your illness that you've had, the cancer, the congestive heart failure, the COPD, depression, Alzheimer's, whatever it is, that it is not going to get better. Now, I know, and here's where the part comes in about healing. I know that nobody is ever prepared, or nobody wants their loved one to leave here. Nobody does. And so, especially Christians, especially people of faith, are my hardest persons to work with. Sometimes their faith works against them. Listen to what I'm saying. Sometimes the faith works against them and they never consider healing on the other side. They want healing right now. And listen. I get it. I always tell people, I don't know how I'm going to react. I do this work. I may not want you to tell me anything about God. I may not want you to read scripture. I don't know. But what I am saying is that we tend to be tunnel vision and we want God to heal right now. And listen, keep your prayer wheels going. But while you are keeping your prayer wheels going, please take care of the business. Please take care of the business. I always worked with, when I was working with Heart of Hospice with Miss Constance Christian, a social worker, she would always say, baby, handle life's business. So what is life's business? Do you want a DNR or a full code? So what is doing a DNR? A DNR comes into play to say that if you get into a crisis, because usually with hospice, you will have accepted the fact that this here it's going to happen. Death is coming. But let me tell you something. It is hard not to call the paramedics when you see somebody struggling to breathe. It is hard, and we want to make sure, family members want to make sure that they have done everything that they could have possibly done, because they hold on to the hope that the person will recover. I don't want you to lose your hope, but what I want us to do is let's take care of life's business. So a DNR, do not resuscitate, a full code. Meaning, if you remain a full code, you want everything possible. You want the paramedics to come. You want them to do mouth to mouth. You want them to do chest compressions. You want them to do everything, because we tend to not be able to deal with the fact that we did not try everything we could, even when what is happening cannot be reversed. Now, I know that God heals. Everybody, there are people who have been on hospice for years. When I worked for Heart of Hospice, there are people who were on hospice from the time I started till I ended. Did they still have that diagnosis? Yes. But whatever, and so when you're on hospice, you say, for instance, your diagnosis is Alzheimer's, right? Alzheimer's is a steady, slow decline. Is inch by inch, right? And so, but hospice says, as long as you're making decline. So what do I mean by making a decline? So for instance, if you came onto hospice with, and you weigh 200 pounds, and they have to make sure that for you to continue receiving service, because let me tell you, people They frown upon receiving the service, but once they see that constant attention, that nurse coming in there every week, once they see those aides coming in and making sure you're taking your medicine, they don't want to give up those supplies. They don't want to give up those things. And so when we tell them, listen, you're not making a decline, we can't keep you on hospice, they say, no, then they want to stay on hospice. So say, for instance, you come in you were weighing 200 pounds. So when the nurse checks your weight again, if you have dropped weight, so you came in on 200 pounds and now you weigh 195, listen, you've made a decline. If you came on hospice walking, and when it's time for you to recertify, you are now using a rollator, you have made a decline, right? So it may be not, can't see it, you don't have to be lying in the bed in a hospital bed, unconscious. That's not necessarily it, depending on your diagnosis. But what hospice says that you will constantly make a decline and you may end up in the hospital bed, right? But in the meantime, because people are not, they still getting up, they still cooking, so they don't take care of the business. So what is the business? Number one, making a decision early on. And it's always best if the patient can determine for themselves if they want to be a DNR and a full code or a full code, right? Because let me tell you something. If they do full code and you end up having to go to ICU and you end up, say you do have a heartbeat, but you don't have any quality of life. So now the next decision you'll have to make is, when do we remove life-sustaining measures? In our vernacular, we say, when do we remove the plug? That decision at that time is always harder than taking care of life's business before it is needed. And so a chaplain can help you walk through that. Right? So yes, Mr. Williams, yes, we have to make those decisions. That is life's business. Keep on living, but take care of your business. One of my, don't leave it up to your family members. Now, here is where problems come in. When you get to the decision room, and the doctor says, there's no heartbeat. I mean, there's a heartbeat, but the heartbeat is only because of having the machines helping you. And so, what do you want to do? When you got one half of the family says, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to hold on. We're not going to remove it. And then you have another side of the family says, yes. Now then, that's where the drama comes in the family. And so just this week, I had two people, family, where the sisters was trying to help the children, and the children weren't ready to make that decision for their mom. And so this is what I told them. Well, perhaps God will make the decision for you. So what am I saying, Michael Anthony? Well, God will just allow the person to die on their own. Right? So therefore, nobody has to have it on their conscience that they pulled the plug when their other family members didn't. And the worst thing to do is to say, well, what do you say do? And that person says, let her go. And then the rest of the family is on the person that they asked the question to, right? Take care of life's business before you need to do it. Another thing, when we handle life's business, and I'm talking from experience of being in households, and it does not care if they're white, if they're black, if they're rich, if they're poor, if they're Christian, if they're Muslims, whatever they are. Families are families. Make sure we always ask these questions. Have you picked out a funeral home? Well, no, I ain't want to think about that. Ain't nobody need to think about that now. What y'all must think I'm dead. You know, the person, the patient or the family. No, we're not going to shoot. Y'all acting like she gone. And so then when the person dies, we have to stay at the house all night because you have to figure out what funeral home you're going to when we have asked and tried to help walk you through that denial or just don't want to deal with it. But eventually we have to deal with it. So then we have to wait all night for you to decide, because this person over here want to use Miller and Hill, and this person over here want to use N.A. James, and so forth and so on, and Rhodes and all of these people. If we could take this, if we could just have it on paper. Because here is the problem. See, when the death does occur, you're so distraught you can't think. But because we have it on paper already, I can just make the call for you. Taking care of life's business. I pray you don't have to use it soon. But if you do, whenever it comes, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. So remember, I'm calling this Grandma Holla, Hospice, and Healing. And so, because even though us church people talk about God being a healer, and you know, we're living this life to be with God, and these things, when the time comes, we do everything we possibly can not to go be with God, right? But here's what happens. We never consider healing may come on the other side. And so when it does, when God does not answer the prayer on this side, and the person, you know, gets up, and we want them to get up, and we want mama to start cooking again. We want grandma to do all the things that she used to do. When I ask, what is your prayer? Well, I want to get up from this bed. I want to do, and you don't have any legs. Your legs have been amputated. What happens when God does not heal on this side? Then what happens is the person who had so much stock in God healing on this side often gets angry with God, even though their religion won't allow them to say that they are angry with God. They really are angry with God because God did not heal on this side. And so what happens is, because they can't fathom being angry with God, they began to take it out on other people and blame other people. And they're going to, they want to sue the doctors. They want to do all of these things, right? Or the grief is so unbearable, they began to drink it out, smoke it out, drug it out, eat it out, sex it out, all of these things. Now listen, I'm all for praying that God will come through. But God is going to always come through. But the question is, or what we need to consider, is God does not always come through the way in which we want God to. Perhaps I'm saying these things because I need to hear them, or you may, I don't know where you are on your life, in your life journey. But I come to say, handle your business. Handle your business. And most importantly, if by chance, for whatever reason, you have to engage with hospice care through a family member, and a chaplain is offered. Yes, Mr. Williams, God always has the last word. I have seen people come off of hospice. I have seen it. I have seen people be on hospice for years. But even so, there are some things that we need to handle so we won't have to do the GoFundMes, and that our families can remain intact. Because what we are seeing with Grandma Holla's family is total chaos. And it happens every day. And a lot of it is when I go into homes and there is disarray, there's so much chaos and dysfunction. What I understand is it didn't just start. And so I am not there to change your family dynamics. I am not there to fix any problems, solve any problems. I am there to walk with you on this journey. To walk with you on this journey. Now listen, I saw a couple of pastors coming through. If you would like some training for your congregation, whether it is grief training, whether it is, really understanding hospice care and all of these things, give me a call or inbox me or send me an email. I will be happy to bring this type of training, because in our churches, oftentimes our pastors are not equipped with this. The many pastors I talk to, they say, I don't know how you could do this. I have seen some pastors do some rough, treacherous things at sick beds. I'll leave that right there. Listen, y'all pray for me. I am preparing for my 4th semester of this doctoral program. And this is going to be a difficult semester based upon the things that we have to do. But I am well on my way to May 2024 of becoming Dr. Sherry L. Brown Jackson with an earned doctorate degree from United Theological Seminary. And all the education that I have obtained is all about helping you to live the life that God has called for you to live. Listen, y'all be blessed. Pray for your girl. Take care of life's business before it takes care of you. You be blessed, and may all be well with your day.